Tonight is AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, and we will see a new AEW World Champion crown. But could MJF leave as AEW World Champion before the night is over? We're going to talk a little bit about Sammy Guevara, hinting even more about an AEW exit. When is Adam Cole expected to return to All Elite Wrestling? The AEW ranking system, is that being phased out? We have news and details about Grand Slam before tonight's show. Plus, Winter is coming. Is that scheduled to return? MJF talks about the CM Punk situation and if that affected his AEW return, and the AEW president Tony Khan takes a shot at Monday Night Raw. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Of course, today is AEW Dynamite Grand Slam Day. The big event from Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York will be taking place live this evening on TBS. We have a ton of news to get into before tonight's show on TBS. So let's get straight into it because, of course, the big show is tonight, the main event, the AEW World Championship. A new champion will be crowned, Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley, but could AEW newly returned star MJF leave Arthur Ashe Stadium as the AEW World Champion? Well, MJF, according to the AEW president Tony Khan, can use his poker chip at any sanctioned AEW event. Now, of course, when MJF returned to AEW at the All Out pay-per-view earlier this month, he quickly made a mark on the company as he captured the poker chip that was hanging above the ring in the casino ladder match, which is a key to an AEW World Championship opportunity. Now, AEW President and CEO Tony Khan recently appeared on Barstool's wrestling podcast, shall I say. In the interview, Khan was asked by wrestling's Brandon Walker if the poker chip works like the WWE's Money in the Bank briefcase, which gives you the opportunity to demand a World Championship match whenever and wherever. This is what Tony Khan had to say, quote, "I think anytime, any sanctioned event, we can certainly make it happen. In this day and age, it's a world that, with live television and pay-per-view events and all opportunities, it's exciting to have a contender out there looming and to have this big championship match tonight on Dynamite. Certainly, it's that much more interesting to have two of the best wrestlers in the world, Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley, one-on-one for the World Championship, and to have a great wrestler like MJF looming in the background as a top contender with the right to challenge for the title anytime. It's a very interesting championship picture right now." Now, on another interview earlier this week, MJF did relay a similar message saying, quote, "I can cash in this chip whenever I want. I'm going to be waiting in the wings. I will pick the bones of whoever wins this match. Am I going to do it at Grand Slam? I don't know. Maybe I'll do it the next week or the week after that. Who is to say?" Now, MJF was also asked specifically if the chip works like the Money in the Bank briefcase, to which he gave an interesting answer, quote, "I do have to have a conversation with someone beforehand, but that does not mean all parties need to be in the know of said conversation." So they're kind of trying not to go completely down the Money in the Bank route, shall we say, but offering wiggle room. And that wiggle room is where I think this evening is going to go. As I mentioned before, I do think that Bryan Danielson will beat Jon Moxley tonight, and I do think Bryan Danielson will become the AEW World Champion. But my prediction is that Bryan Danielson will not leave Queens as the AEW World Champion. I think MJF cashes in his poker chip, and I think MJF becomes the new AEW World Champion. Now, they're saying it's not like the Money in the Bank briefcase whereby you can just run down to the ring, cash it in, and have a championship match. They're saying it's more like, well, MJF can have his match tonight if he wants to, but he has to have a conversation first with Tony Khan or something like that. And I don't know how they're going to play that in terms of a storyline. The less Tony Khan on television, the better. You know, they did the thing at All Out, didn't they, where Tony Khan left the voicemail for MJF and spoke about paying him the money and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how they're going to do that. But I think that, as I mentioned, we leave Dynamite tonight with MJF holding the AEW World Championship. I really do. Now, as I mentioned, Tony Khan has been doing a lot of media ahead of this evening's event at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Now, of course, Tony Khan was sitting right there when CM Punk was disparaging AEW and disparaging Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Hangman Page and Colt Cabana. He was right there next to CM Punk in that now infamous all-out media scrum. After Punk left the table, of course, that altercation happened between Punk, Ace Steel, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks, leading to all 5 men being suspended for an undisclosed amount of time. Now, while appearing on Rock 105.3's The Show, Khan was asked what he was thinking as Punk was speaking during that media scrum. And Tony Khan said, quote, "I can't really comment on any of that," he said before promoting AEW Dynamite Grand Slam and touting the rating success of recent episodes. When pressed for more and asked what's going on in regards to Punk having to vacate the AEW World title, which he won at AEW All Out, he said, quote, "What's going on is the best show in pro wrestling tomorrow night on TBS, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam," before promoting Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson for the AEW World title. He then added, quote, "Since All Out, it's been very newsworthy shows, and they've also been some of our best shows and best ratings. That's for a reason. AEW has put on some of our best matches. Right now, there is a lot of excitement in the company, not only with all the big championship fights. People are excited about the return of MJF. That's pretty huge. That's one of the main things we're focused on in AEW. He went on to continue to promote things like the return of Samoa Joe and the title matches at Grand Slam, and then when pressed if the backstage drama from AEW All Out took away from MJF's return to the show, Khan said, quote, "I'm not going to comment on that again, but I will say that MJF's return has been a massive needle mover for AEW and has generated a ton of interest. Having MJF back on Dynamite has been great. That's another reason why we've seen such a great ratings bump." So Tony Khan avoiding any discussion of the Elite, of CM Punk, of the incident at All Out. And as I've mentioned time and time again here on the channel, chances are that's just because he can't talk about it from a legal perspective. Because as we've spoken about previously, I think that as this ongoing external third-party investigation gets closer to completion, we may see a situation where Tony Khan is forced to fire or forced to terminate certain people, whether it is CM Punk, whether it's Ace Steel. And that most likely is going to lead to litigation. It's going to lead to lawsuits. Even if he doesn't fire CM Punk or Ace Steel, there's a chance that the Young Bucks might sue CM Punk. There's a chance that Kenny Omega might sue Ace Steel for biting him. There's lots of different legal routes this can go down. And right now, the last thing Tony Khan needs is to be on the record talking about, you know, certain incidents and throwing stones, as it were. So I'm not surprised that he didn't speak on it on that point. Let's talk about Sammy Guevara. We've spoken about this recently, haven't we, guys? The last few days, Sammy Guevara, or the last week or so, he's been dropping a lot of really cryptic teases on social media about possibly leaving the company. Now, Sammy Guevara hinted at possibly going the route of Cody Rhodes when it comes to his in-ring career. Now, Guevara, of course, is a heel on the AEW roster, but he has garnered heat on social media and in arenas after he and Tay Mello became a couple. The two are now married, of course. During a new vlog on his YouTube channel, Guevara admitted he's aware of what's being said about him, and it almost made him take a page out of Rhodes' book. Quote, "I also got pretty frustrated because I try to do and make a moment every time I'm out there. But somewhere along the way, I just got this crazy amount of hate," Guevara said. "I don't understand really what I did, but I see it. People want me to go away. People say they're tired of me, blah, 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 blah. So while I'm in this negative mindset, I think maybe I should go away. Maybe this is it for me. I had a nice ride and maybe I need to go away and get y'all to appreciate me. Because that's what you guys do. That's what you did to Cody when he was in AEW. You hated him. Then he went to WWE and you guys love him now." Fans soured, of course, on Rhodes toward the ends of his AEW run. When Rhodes returned to WWE, he received a hero's welcome. And Guevara said he was thinking about taking a break for a bit, but he ultimately decided that he will keep pressing forward. Of course, he's scheduled for a match against Eddie Kingston at AEW Rampage Grand Slam, which, of course, will air this coming Friday. I think with what he's saying there, this is the problem, and this was the problem with Cody Rhodes in AEW as well, is that the talent involved don't fundamentally understand why people are booing them. That was the issue with Cody Rhodes. I thought his presentation in AEW was all wrong, and frankly, his presentation was better suited to WWE. That's why it's worked out better for him there. He's more suited to the WWE presentation. And in AEW, people wanted to see him be a heel. They wanted to see him, you know, not be in the Codyverse. His storylines were bad. They were self-indulgent. Go back and watch their promos. They're just as bad today as they were back then. It wasn't working. And it was just this sheer I don't know, stubbornness surrounding just, I'm not going to turn heel, I'm not going to give the fans what they want. And Cody would do these interviews where he would put his foot in his mouth over and over again. And people remember, people have long memories. They don't have short memories. They remember back in 2019 and all the noises he was making about listening to the fans, giving the fans what they want, and this, that, and the other, and taking shots at WWE. But then he was doing like WWE Light in AEW, and it wasn't working. And fans wanted to see something different, not the cringy promos and weird storylines, and working with his friends and having, how many friends turned on him in AEW? It was ridiculous. And you know, it was just, it was self-indulgent. So fans turned on them for that, but you know, they perceived it as something else. Like, I remember Arn Anderson coming out and saying, oh, it's because they think Cody Rhodes is going to go to Hollywood. No, they don't. No, they never did. It was bizarre. And it's the same with Sammy Guevara here. You know, he's, oh, it's because of my relationship with Ty Conti, and maybe that's an element of it. But I think the majority of it is just they were turned off to the way that they were acting on television. They were heels, and they were getting a lot of heat. And obviously, pro wrestling, people are insane on social media, and of course they took it too far. And you can't allow that, and that was wrong. It really was. People getting involved with his engagements and all that kind of stuff is ridiculous. But at the same time, the way that certain things were handled with that and the social media comments and the way they were acting on television, and they doubled down on it. And you know, then some of the comments they were making on social media, encouraging it, and then you can't encourage it and then say, oh, it got too much. It's difficult. It is. But again, I look at it as, I don't think if Sammy Guevara went to WWE, oh, he'd be adored. We'd love Sammy Guevara now. They'd probably think the same. They really would. And for Cody Rhodes, I said at the time, yeah, he got a hero's welcome and obviously super over in WWE. But if anything, maybe the injury came at somewhat the right time, because give it 12 months, fans can be fickle and maybe they would get annoyed. I don't know. So I just found that a little bit eye-rolling. Anyway, it sounds a lot like a pity party to me. Adam Cole is currently out, of course, with an injury, but he's issued a warning ahead of his return. Now, of course, Adam Cole, we last competed in a match, rather, for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and he suffered a very serious concussion at Forbidden Door. Now, that's an injury he's been recovering from ever since then, but he took to Twitter recently to issue a warning to the AEW roster ahead of his comeback. He tweeted, quote, "I'm running shit when I get back. Seriously, save the tweet. Otherwise," and then it was accompanied by a GIF saying, "You, my friend, are lying to yourself." Now, the last time he was seen, of course, the Undisputed Elite turned on the Elite. However, since then, everything's kind of changed. Of course, Adam Cole's still out with an injury. Bobby Fish no longer works for the company, and Kyle O'Reilly is currently on the shelf with a neck injury, underwent neck fusion surgery. He's not coming back anytime soon. Now, Cole was recently spotted with AEW President Tony Khan at the latest Jacksonville Jaguars game, with Khan himself sharing a picture of the two men. And he has been teasing the idea that a surprise could be taking place tonight at Dynamite Grand Slam. And he also teased on Twitter that he has maybe something up my sleeve, but it's unknown whether that has any relation to a possible return to action of Adam Cole. Now, when it comes to, as I mentioned, that turn of the Undisputed Elite on the Elite, it felt like it was setting up an Undisputed Era versus the Elite match in the future. Well, of course, that isn't going to happen now because of injuries and because of Fish no longer being with the company. But Tony Khan also did not rule out something like that possibly happening in the future, despite there being no immediate plans for a follow-up due to the angle, due to injuries, non-renewals, and now suspensions for the Elite. Tony Khan isn't ruling out the possibility of there being a trios match at some point between the two teams. Quote, "It'd be interesting to go back and think about it. Certainly, while it hasn't come to fruition, you never know. I certainly wouldn't want to rule out the possibility of someday that potentially happening. On the other hand, you mentioned injuries and unforeseen circumstances that have taken place. Those are all great wrestlers and two great trios." So, whilst Tony Khan saying, well, we can't rule it out, I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon, do you? Let's talk about the rankings, because the rankings are kind of going to be no more-ish in AEW. Now, All Elite Wrestling's rankings were previously a prominent part of the promotion, often being used to determine title matches. They haven't been featured on TV in recent weeks. The rankings haven't actually been updated since August 31st on AEW's website, and talent no longer have their ranking listed during their entrances. It appears that the rankings won't be going away completely. However, Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that AEW simply decided to de-emphasize them. Quote, "They're not dead, but they have been toned down. They're not dead. There was was a decision not to emphasize them as much on television, but they can always go back to doing so. Now, why AEW have decided to de-emphasize the rankings is currently unknown. The system has come under scrutiny really since it began, but certainly in recent months, when you look at especially the tag team scene, where FTR being the #1 ranked tag team for months and not receiving at all a World Championship opportunity. The thing is, and again, this is where some of the comments that AEW were making in 2019, at the time people said it was dumb for them to make these comments because they were always going to come back to bite them. We're going to be a sports-based presentation. Are they really a sports-based presentation? They're not. They're a pro wrestling-based presentation. They're not a sports-based presentation. The rankings. 3 years later, they're not really using them anymore. Remember all the stuff Cody Rhodes was saying about all of the boys and girls are going to be covered with health insurance? No, they're not. Stuff like that. That's why it came back to bite them. Even the WWE thing, right? I'm not going to do what WCW did and bring in a load of WWE guys. Well, yeah, you are, because that's how pro wrestling works. If a free agent from another company becomes available, you sign them. There's nothing wrong with that. But once you put that line in the sand before you start, I'm not going to do this, or we're going to use rankings, or we're going to have a sports-based presented product, when you go back on it, people go, wait a minute, especially in today's age where everything's written down, everything's recorded, everyone can go back and find stuff. They can go back and say, well, that was a lie then, or you didn't foresee that coming. And things can change. Not everything's set in stone, but the way they were talking earlier on in 2019 or 2020, it made it feel like it was. And people will come back and talk about that. And again, it's just give more ammunition to people that really don't need it at this period of time. Now, of course, Grand Slam is tonight. They're going to be taping 2 shows, of course, Grand Slam edition of Dynamite and Grand Slam version of Rampage as well. And Tony Khan has also announced that AEW Grand Slam has broken a major AEW record. Following up on his tweet previously in the day regarding Grand Slam success, Khan took to Twitter again to announce that the event in Arthur Ashe Stadium has officially broken a new record for AEW TV events. He said, AEW Grand Slam in New York City is now officially the highest grossing event in AEW TV history. Don't miss Grand Slam on TV, live on Wednesday night, AEW Dynamite on TBS Plus, Part 2, Friday night AEW Rampage on TNT. Now, of course, he had been hinting that this would probably be the case, tweeting how close the promotion was to breaking the AEW record for a TV event, breaking the $1 million gate on Monday. So now it would suggest that they have passed that and superseded that $1 million gross gate for AEW for an AEW TV event, which is fantastic. He declared even on Tuesday that Grand Slam would be the biggest wrestling event in New York in 2022. Bit of a stretch, that one. But $1 million gate's nothing to be sniffed at. It really is. So it really is tremendous as well. As I mentioned, this is the tweet in question when he said it was going to be the biggest event in New York in 2022. The single best live wrestling event in New York this entire year takes place tomorrow. AEW Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Grand Slam 2022 is now the highest grossing AEW TV event we've ever done. Join us in person or on TBS tomorrow. So, look, congratulations to AEW for that. Again, $1 million gate is nothing to be sniffed at. They've sold less tickets than they did last year, but the price point is considerably higher. Last year, they sold, I think it was like 20,000 tickets. This year, I think it's around 11 or 12,000, but they've superseded the gate that they had last year in terms of finance, which again is a tremendous achievement for AEW. Absolutely. Speaking of TV specials, Winter is coming. What's going to happen with the Winter is Coming event? Now, Khan revealed during an interview with 105.3 The Fan that he'd like to bring back the special if AEW returns to Dallas later this year. Quote, I do think the numbers on TNT and TBS, if the numbers on TNT and TBS keep up where they're at, you all keep doing a great job watching the shows and supporting us. Why not do the show in Dallas? Let's keep going. I love the Dallas market, and there's a good chance we'll come back and do Winter is Coming again this year. Let's do it. Now, of course, the last Winter is Coming took place in December 2021, with the show's main event featuring MJF defeating Dante Martin by submission to retain his Dynamite Diamond ring. Of course, the show is probably best known for Bryan Danielson challenging Hangman Page for the AEW World title. That was the show, wasn't it? That the one that went an hour? I believe so. It'll be interesting to see if they do. No, they will. They will. Tony Khan's clearly got his TV specials that he likes to do, and I'm 99% certain we'll see a Winter is coming again this year. Finally, Tony Khan. Speaking of Khan, I mentioned he's been doing the rounds. He took a shot at the Monday Night Raw viewership this week, when he, the show, of course, registered the show's lowest viewership in months, head-to-head with 2 Monday Night Football games, it must be mentioned. But Khan took to Twitter Tuesday evening and tweeted a gif of a man yelling, quote, "Are you ready for some football?" Now, of course, this week's episode of Raw had to go against some tough competition from the NFL in the form of 2 Monday Night Football games, the Tennessee Titans versus the Buffalo Bills, and the Minnesota Vikings versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The games aired on ESPN and ABC. Of course, Tony Khan's father, Shahid Khan, owns the NFL's Jacksonville Jaguars. I see that and I just go, well, and the reason why he does it, stuff like that, is purely just to get people talking. I think he might be of the mindset of any publicity is good publicity, or people talking about him. It's unnecessary. That is where I do agree with people when I say, what is the point with that? Because you're not, clearly, Dynamite this week isn't going to do, I mean, Raw did nearly 1.6 million viewers. Dynamite isn't going to do that. It's not going to get close to that, is it? So what are you trying to brag about? Because you can brag when your show's doing more than Raw, but it's not. So it's a weird flex to do. I don't know. Nevertheless, guys, there you go. That's the latest AEW news stories. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.